Did you know that in a job interview, changing your inner voice can make you seem more convincing while reducing your shame and nervousness? Chatter by Ethan Kross is a book about the voice in your head and how you can master it. Ethan Kross is an award-winning University of Michigan professor and one of the world's leading experts on the control of consciousness. Up to half of our waking hours, we're not present but busy with our thoughts, that constant chatter in our heads. In special situations, for example, just before an exam or on a stage, this voice can become particularly loud, sometimes fearful or even paralyzing. In this video, you will learn what tools you can use when you are in nerve-wracking or hopeless situations. About 1000 years before Christ, King Solomon ruled over the Jewish people. He was considered the wisest man in the world, and many people therefore sought his advice. But in his own decisions, he was not so wise. In love and short-sighted, he married hundreds of women of different faiths. This led him to turn away from his own God and eventually to the division of the Jewish kingdom. The story of King Solomon is seen as a parable for us humans who are able to look at things concerning other people with far more clarity and understanding than our own affairs. The core message of the book is therefore also the simplest. You must learn to use distant self-talk in critical situations. The more distance you can create from a situation, the calmer, more positive and wiser your inner voice will be. But how can you achieve this inner distance? One way, for example, is to imagine that you are advising a friend who has the same problem as you. Listen, bro, it's simple. She just doesn't love you anymore. After that, you just have to use the advice for yourself. Luckily, the book Chatter contains very concrete and scientifically proven tools that you can use to control your inner voice. Here are 5 of the most important tools. Tool number 1. Ethan Kross conducted an experiment himself to prove that changing a single word can have a profound effect on what kind of conversation you have with yourself and how you ultimately handle stressful situations better as a result. The participants of the experiment were given the chance to get their dream job. But in order to get it, they had to give a 5-minute talk in front of a camera and a jury of experts in which they had to pitch themselves and why they are the right candidate. For most people, this is an incredibly stressful situation. And to make the situation even more uncomfortable for the participants, they were only given 5 minutes to prepare. And did I mention that they weren't even allowed to take notes in the process? Yes, it certainly smelled badly of anxiety sweat. After the preparation time, participants were asked to reflect on their fears. Both groups had the exact same requirements, with the only difference being that one group was to use the first-person self when reflecting, while the second group was to use their own name when reflecting. So it wasn't, why am I so afraid to be on stage soon? But why is James so afraid to be on stage soon? This small difference was enough to make them look at this stressful situation with more distance. The participants of the study who used the distant self-talk, as they used their own name instead of the I, later reported that they had less shame than the participants who used the immersed self-talk. They were also judged to be more persuasive by the panel, so they also performed better. Tool number 1 is use your name to calm your inner voice in critical situations and build more distance. Tool number 2. In one study, Ethan Kross got people who had recently broken up with their partners to undergo a nasty experiment. He took the dumb people to a lab and showed them photos of their former partners. The result? Sensors in the brain clearly showed that the same areas of pain were affected when looking at ex-partners as when in severe physical pain. However, some of the group would be given a nasal spray with the indication that this contains opiates relieving pain. Not only did this group report feeling less pain in the experiment, but their brain data told the same story. The perceived pain was actually relieved. In truth, however, the nasal spray contained no opiates at all, but only a saline solution, so it was a placebo. Athletes are often superstitious, and surprisingly, this is not irrational at all. For example, Michael Jordan wore his college shorts under his uniform in every game with the Chicago Bulls. This reassured him and made him confident of victory. After all, he made the decisive shot in the American College Basketball Championship in 1982 while wearing his college uniform. Fun fact, through his superstition, he eventually sparked a fashion trend in the NBA that led to oversized basketball uniforms in the 90s. The mere belief or superstition in an object or action can be very soothing to the inner voice in your head, increase concentration, and even activate the self-healing powers in your body. Tool number 2 is use lucky charms and placebos to master your inner voice. Tool number 3. In an experiment, the cognitive abilities of 2 groups were compared. All participants had to memorize 3 to 9-digit numbers and repeat them backward. However, one group was allowed to walk in nature for an hour after the test, while the other group was asked to walk along a busy main road. After each walk, both groups repeated the test and the results were compared. What was the result? Only the nature hike improved the participants' ability to concentrate, but not the walk along the busy road. And if you have the misfortune to live in a big city where there is no beautiful nature in the immediate environment, then virtual nature will also work. Photos, videos, and even sounds of nature, such as waterfalls or the chirping of crickets, have been proven to reduce stress and calm your inner voice. In addition to the impact of nature on mental health, a sense of order and control also plays a big role in your inner voice. When we perceive our surroundings as orderly, it calms us and makes the world seem more predictable. Anything that gives us a sense of order and control has a positive effect on our stress levels and inner voice. You can create a sense of order and control by making a plan or tidying your desk, and you'll be as zen as Mr. Miyagi. Tool number 3 is surround yourself with a calming environment. Tool number 4. Also, the people around you have a great influence on your inner voice. But smart advice doesn't always help us, even it may be good from an objective point of view. You have probably experienced it yourself. You get a piece of advice that is supposed to help you look at a difficult situation from a different perspective. You know that objectively speaking, the advice is good, but you can't accept it. If people are supposed to help you calm your inner voice, it only works if they meet your emotional needs first and your cognitive needs second. If the emotional part is missing, then the attempt to help usually fails. So if we want to help other people control their inner voice, then we must always meet the emotional needs first before we can meet the cognitive needs. We do this by trying to understand their emotional state and showing empathy. Caressing or hugging can also fulfill emotional needs and trigger the release of endorphins and oxytocin. Tool number 4 is help others by first satisfying their emotional needs. Tool number 5. When people are in extreme situations, such as when they are grieving the loss of a loved one, practicing rituals helps them. It is not without reason that religious institutions specify the exact procedure of mourning rituals. But rituals can also help people overcome their fears in nerve-wracking situations. Likewise, almost all athletes use rituals to calm themselves before their games or competitions. And rituals can also help overcome shame. In one experiment, participants were asked to sing the song "Don't Stop Believing" in front of a stranger. For most participants, this was a very uncomfortable situation. One group of the participants were instructed to perform the following ritual. Draw a picture of how you're feeling right now. Sprinkle salt on your picture. Count out loud to 5. Crumble your paper. Throw your paper in the trash. Okay, that sounds pretty silly, but participants who performed the ritual felt less anxiety while singing, had a lower heart rate, and also sang better than participants who didn't perform a ritual beforehand. So tool number 5 is develop your own rituals for nerve-wracking situations. That was the animated summary of the book Chatter by Ethan Kross. If you liked this summary, feel free to comment or leave a thumbs up. My channel is all about the psychology of innovation and how to become more creative, courageous, and persistent. If this interests you, feel free to subscribe to my channel.